Student loans is actually the second biggest debt. The biggest debt for an average person is the mortgage.
Yep.
The second biggest debt is student loan.
1.6 trillion.
And it's crazy because so we're giving away some money for our high school.
Yes.
$5,000.
We're giving away scholarships to 5 students. We're giving away just because we wanted to do something that was impactful.
No, but let me tell a story.
Oh, you want to tell a story? You want to talk about the scholarship?
No, Ian. So here's the thing: we give away. I'll just keep it brief. All right. We're giving away $5,000, right? We did it last year, and to receive the money, students they had to write an essay about why they should get the money.
No, so they had to. It was just like a future business plan, not even like an idea, not even a plan. I shouldn't say plan. A future business idea. What would you do with the 1,000?
It was relatively easy,
simple.
Yeah.
How many essays do you think we got?
4.
How many?
4.
You overshot it by 50%.
Wow, there was on Chat GPT back then.
So 2. I don't think it was that many.
Yeah, we got 2.
We got 2.
So we upped it this year. We said, look, we're going to do it. We're going to open it up for 5 students. 5 students. To date, how many essays do you think we got?
0. I've been on Duolingo. 0.
We have not got one yet.
Haven't got one yet.
So here's the crazy thing about it. All you got to do is write the essay. You're going to get money.
And Chat GPT.
One or two things is not happening. Maybe it's not marketed correctly. That could be our fault.
Possibly.
Or it's just a complete lack of motivation and this goes back to the debt thing. I would rather just take out student loan because I don't have to do anything. Fill out some paperwork, take out student loan. I got to actually sit down and write an essay for $1,000.
I mean, there's negligence, right? There's negligence from the student part. There's negligence from an administrative part as well, right? So if the kids don't know about it, then they won't know to do it. That's one part of it, right? But there are kids who do know about it and are choosing not to do it. And there's parents who know about it and are doing nothing.
We have not received one essay yet.
Yeah, and that's just for our high school, Woodlands High School here in it's in Hartsdale, New York. But I'm just saying because people are like, how do I get the 1,000? It was for our high school. So if you're a senior at Woodlands High School, right? If you're in Greenberg, you're in Hartsdale, and you go to Woodlands and you're a senior, this is for you.
But like I said, this goes back to a wider issue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point? What's the point?
What's the point of what?
Of writing an essay when I could just borrow money. It's a mentality that we've been ingrained to think to do the least amount of possible. We want to do the least amount and get the most.
Okay, now if we can be honest, who put that into our society? Because we have to have a bigger, and I keep trying to have the conversation. I don't want to run any relationships. We have to go to the top with the banks and with the venture capital firms. Who are pushing this?
It's business first.
Yeah, I mean, but no, for sure. But I'm just saying, it's just the mentality that we have been ingrained in to do the least to get the most. We want to do the least amount to get the most.
Well, partly true, right? Because there's people, and I've been in that boat, right? Where it was like, my parents would, I guess we were middle class, and it was like, you got to fill out, you can't even get student loan. You got to fill out financial aid first. And then you don't qualify financial aid if you make a certain amount. And then you got to get student loan because you can't get it, right? So if my parents are middle class, we're not getting any financial aid, right? So like, I remember I got a check for $36 for financial aid. What am I do with that? So now it's like, if my parents don't have it and I don't have it.
Here's the thing. Here's a novel idea. This is the harsh reality of life.
Oh.
If you can't afford to buy something, don't buy it. That includes college. college. That includes college. This is something that I'm probably gonna get a lot of pushback for.
Can we get a rebuttal?
Let me finish. I'm gonna get a lot of pushback for. I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm saying go to where you can afford. Everybody can afford community college. That's almost free. That's almost free. So my thing is this, right? Instead of you trying to take out a bunch of student loan to go to an out-of-state school, whether it's an HBCU school, whether it's whatever, if you financially can't afford to go to school and your parents know that, why don't you encourage your kid or tell your kid, look, you go to junior college for 2 years, right? Which essentially, even if you have to work part-time, you could pay for junior college. It's very affordable. So now you get to have an associate's degree, right, under your belt. And if you do well enough, now you can potentially get a scholarship based off of past performance, or even if you have to pay, you can still go to a state school to finish out your bachelor's degree, but paying for 2 years is a lot more beneficial for paying for 4 years, right? That's something that would substantially decrease the student loan crisis in this country. So some self-accountability has to be.
Can I be God's advocate real quick?
It would definitely substantially decrease the student loan crisis for sure.
Well,
for sure.
If master's degrees are not affording people to live or get a wage that is fair, that is commensurate to what they've invested, then how is getting an associate degree better per se?
Well, that's not, but master's degrees are what master's degree you're getting is the key. So this goes back to another situation as far as education. What are you majoring in, right? So we know that social sciences, communications, a lot of these degrees, doesn't matter if you have a doctorate degree, you're still facing an uphill battle. But just put it on Instagram a few days ago. The top 10 professions as far as how much you get paid are all medical professions.
Mm-hmm.
So medical profession, STEM is still making money. In medical field, architecture, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer, there's still you still are going to outpace the average American as far as the amount of money that you're going to make. So it's not necessarily that master's degree is not earning money. It's what kind of master's degree that you have that's not earning money. If you have a master's degree in sociology, it's going to still be difficult for you.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest with you.
But even those in the medical field, they also have the highest debt burden as well.
Yeah, they have the highest
and the amount of time that it takes to achieve that.
Well, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
So you have to think of, okay, what's going to put me in the best situation possible to make money? If it's all about mitigating risk. If you want to go to college, but you don't have to go to college. But if you want to go to college, it's no guarantee that you're going to be successful either way. But you put yourself in the best position as possible. The best position is to make sure that you have as least debt as possible, right? And then you're in a better place. It's still not a guarantee that you're going to win,
right,
but you're in a better place as opposed to just winging it and just getting $80,000 of debt off the rip. And now you're in a worse place.
Yeah, but that goes back to, and that's now. We can speak of it now, right? And that was pretty much my strategy. It was like, look, I'm going to stay close to home. I'm going to find the most affordable school. I'm going to try to have as least debt that is going to put on my parents, which is eventually going to turn on me because they're going to be co-signers. So that was the plan. The difference now is that, well, then was that there wasn't any education behind it. So like when you're the first person that's going to school and this is the American dream, right? Like especially like first generation kids, it's like, you got to go to college because that's how you're going to be successful. But it all comes down to it is money, right? Like you got to think about the return on the investment. So if I'm going here, I have to finish. Most kids go and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But at that point, you're already in debt. You almost have to finish. I spoke to a student the other day. She's studying in PT. She's like, I don't even want to do this anymore. Well, you're 5 years in. Guess what? You got to have to finish.
Got to finish.
Because if you don't, you can't afford to start over. And if you do, you're going to start at a base salary. Well, that's going to at least provide you with a salary in some profession. And so we got to, I'll say this, right? Because I went to school. I was educated. I'm going to be as kind as possible, right? If money is the root of the decision, then we have to find different ways to get to the money.
Yeah.
Whether it's finding a trade, whether it's finding a skill, some of these professions you have to go through.
Oh, what do you mean? If money's the root of the decision?
So why are
everyone's going to college
because I want to make money.
Yeah, right.
That's the root of it, right?
But
not necessarily.
Well, then why are we going
90%?
I would say more than 90%, right? If I didn't have to go to college,
Black, it's 100%. Yes,
right. It was like, yo, that's the way to quote unquote accumulate wealth or be successful, quote unquote, right? If I didn't have to go, if there was another route, if there was an Earn Your Leisure in 2006, bro, I might not be going to grad school.
So here's the thing.
You know what I'm saying? So like, the education and the resources have changed.
I think that.
Hold on, let me finish. Where people can make wiser decisions. So that strategy that you're talking about, like, yes, go to community college, 2-year school, find another affordable school. But even after you find that associate's degree, you still may not have or be in a position where your parents can afford it. So you're still going to be in some form of debt. You want to mitigate it you lessen it. Right. You want to mitigate the risk as much as possible, but there's still going to be a certain amount of debt that's going to be accumulated. It's just about how much you're going to accumulate but you're doing that because you want to, again, make money. It's like when I'm a teacher, in order for me to make more money, I got to go back to school to get more credits. Well, I'm not even learning anything. I'm just going to get credits so I can make more money. If the goal is to learn, then there has to be a different incentive, right? If people are plus 30 or they're plus 60 or they have their doctorate, they're doing that in their profession, especially in education, because they're like, that's where the highest salary's at.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There's alternatives. And I don't want to harp on this situation for too long, but it's important. When you are in the pursuit of education, as far as a degree from college, there's ways to go about it that might take longer, that might not be as glamorous, but can eliminate a lot of debt. You can work while you're going to school.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay home. You can go to community college. You can take 6 years to get a 4-year degree. These are things that you can do, right? So
I like all those except the 6 year.
Why though? Because when I'm saying 6 years, I mean you're taking time. You might not have all day. Like my mom worked while she went to school, right? Yeah. So she didn't have I just went to school.
Yeah.
So she didn't have the option to go to school from 10 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock, and she might have had 2 hours, right? So I'm saying, like, instead of 12, 13 credits, you might just take 6 credits a semester. That's why I'm saying 6 years.
And here's my opposition to it, because I am that person, right? Like, I worked and I went to school. And what happened when I was trying to get into the workforce, it was like, all right, the people that I had been in school with are now, they have 2 more years of experience than I have.
Yes.
Right. I now fall behind that class that I started with because their experience level is higher. Right. I'm spacing it out because, I don't have the time. I have to go to school on Saturday. I'm going to school at night, as opposed to somebody who's taking 18 credits in a semester. It's different. But what it does, again, because when we're in the work field, there is no age limit. You're competing against everybody. And so every year that I'm going to school, salary is increasing, I'm having less experience, it takes away from that. I'm just saying from a personal.
And in the interview process, the employee may even ask why did it take you 6 years to graduate.
I don't think it really doesn't necessarily. Nobody's ever asked why it takes 6 years to graduate, because as long as you have a degree, that you have a degree.
That's true.
But my thing is this: I don't know. Regardless of anything,
go ahead.
Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this, because we could go all episode on this. But make smart decisions. Try to lower your debt if possible. Student loan debt is the second biggest debt to any American. So this is a very important thing. And mortgages is the biggest debt. So even with the mortgages, try to go about it the correct way. Try to buy homes that you can afford. House hack, multifamily. Don't put yourself in a tremendous financial hardship just to live somewhere, because that's not beneficial either, for you just to be working just to pay a mortgage and property taxes. That's not a recipe for financial freedom down the line as well. Do the snowball method if you're trying to get rid of your credit card debt. That is when you're paying, if you have multiple credit cards, you're paying a higher amount on the larger credit cards until you pay the larger credit card off, and then you use that money to the second largest, and then kind of work your way backwards from there. That's a beneficial way to kind of go about it. Definitely call your credit card, to try to negotiate. That is something that you can potentially do. Be wise with your decisions, with your spending. You just got to think. In auto loans, definitely look at different options before purchasing a car. Look at the difference between if you lease a car and if you buy a car. Look at used cars. Look at different things that go into play here before you just make a decision, because sometimes you make a decision, you think you're doing the right thing, and you're putting yourself in tremendous debt. So $17 trillion of debt for Americans is something that's concerning. And I think that everybody should look at their own personal situation and reevaluate it and see how they can do better.
I agree. My only final take that I want to put on this is the 3 of the biggest products in the banking system are mortgages, student loans, and overdraft fees. I don't want it to come off as if we're blaming the people, because if they are profiting off of the 17 trillion, at what point will we put pressure on Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan, who I have a relationship with, and other banks and institutes? That's part of the reason, like, why some of these regional banks are falling apart as well. Like, it's not the people that put themselves, like, even in 2007, people got blamed for doing bad mortgages, but they never talked about the derivatives trading that Wall Street did off the loans. It wasn't the consumers that crashed the market. It was all the shitty trading from and swaps and derivatives that they were doing on the assets, and then lying about the ratings of those. So at some point, we have to have a larger conversation around banking doing the right thing. And a part of our desire to expand rapidly is causing our corrosion as well, because you can't expand without printing more money at scale. And going back to tech, like even Apple as a company is worth more than all of the Russell 2000. You guys know I love Apple, but that's the biggest sign of a bubble. How can one stock be bigger than a fucking index? Because the majority of the other companies in the Russell 2000 small cap are not worth what they were valued at. Most of the venture companies that have got backing in the last 3 years are underwater. So if they were valued 2 years ago at $190 billion or 190 million, they're really worth 85 right now. But they are not going to go back and regrade all of those. We have a bigger debt issue, an asset issue across every class. Commercial real estate in San Francisco, 45% vacancy rate, 22% in Chicago. These are major bubbles. And people want to say we're fear-mongering about China. But when Wealth posted, I don't see them comments. I'll be looking. I'll be on the video. But we can move on. But I think we got to put some pressure on the banks to make sure that they're not taking advantage of us and then blaming us when it goes belly up.
Yeah, you said Apple. They're actually worth more than the GDP of the UK as well. Think about that. They're worth 2.7 trillion, and the GDP of the UK is 2.6 trillion.
Yeah. Yep.
Unbelievable.
That is pretty unbelievable.
But we live in America. It's a capitalistic society, so you can never look at institutions and banks for any way out. You have to take accountability as a person, because it's ultimately in their best interest to make sure that you're ignorant, that you're making bad decisions, that you're putting yourself in debt.
Yes.
I mean, that's the way.
Yes, you're right.
That is a business model.
You are right.
That's the corporate structure of America. So knowing that is not good enough to say, like, this would be the equivalent to say, like, okay, McDonald's should stop serving Big Macs and the school system should serve better food. Yeah, that all should happen. It's not in their best interest. So me, as an intelligent person, I can't blame my health issues on outside entities. I have to take responsibility for myself and say that I'm a competent person who can make decisions, and I am choosing to make healthy choices in my eating habits because I don't want to have high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol. I don't want to go through that. Just like the debt situation, we all have to take responsibility. And if you don't know, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But if you're educated and you do it, then that's a decision.
Accountability.
What do you do if you can't avoid it? Like, let's take the food sourcing scenario. What do you do if you can't avoid the poison, or you live in an area where there's a food desert, or if we talk about glyphosate, which destroys the gut biome, which has been the number one leading factor for obesity, going up 700%. This has been a class action lawsuit on that company.
Well, I used to live in Baltimore, so I did a whole survey on food deserts. I did an actual study on food deserts, so I know about food deserts for sure. I actually did a research study on it firsthand, and for sure that's an issue. Mm-hmm. But also, right, this one of the things that is a common misconception is that it's expensive to eat good. It's actually more expensive not to eat good. So we all still have choices to make, no matter what your circumstances are. 19 Keys, he gave me the book, How to Eat to Live. That was written by Elijah Muhammad in 1950.
Yeah.
In the worst economic situation for Black people, worse than what we all have now. More, and he wrote in 1950 How to Eat to Live. There's a whole book dedicated on healthy living, how to eat, how to grow your own food, how to different things. So yeah, we're always gonna have challenges in America, especially as Black people. But in 2023, we have to find ways to overcome those challenges. We have to find ways, because petitioning, going to the government, going to corporations, trying to hold them accountable, it's not going to work. Be honest with you. It's not going to work. So yeah, we are up against the uphill battle, and there's challenges, but you have to find ways to beat the challenges. If not, we're going to continue to lose.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.